I'm going to share with you what happened and the things that come to my mind when these things happen that I think we all need to be aware of. So first of all, like I said, there are 2 guests on the Ruby Princess. It has been reported that both the U.S. Coast Guard and the Canadian Coast Guard, their equivalent, worked together to be able to evacuate these guests on the same day. So first off, we had a 52-year-old woman that had been on board the ship that had cardiac arrest, and so I'm guessing some heart problems there with that. And then we also had a 99-year-old gentleman who was on board the ship, and the report that I can find about him talks about a collapsed esophagus. And so no matter what is wrong, they always take really good care of the passengers on board the ship. They actually have a lot of resources available just there on board, but they are trained and know when they get to the point that the guest has to be airlifted. So that happened to 2 guests on the same day. What always comes to my mind, so this was a cruise on the Ruby Princess that sails round trip out of San Francisco to Alaska. They always have to make that call in a Canadian port as part of the rules for sailing on a ship that goes round trip in the United States. So the important thing to know here is 2 things. First step, along with sending our love and our prayers to these guests as well as their families, it's really important to keep in mind how important it is to have a passport. I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to have a passport when you go on a cruise that calls at another port, or you're even sailing by somewhere else, because if you end up in the port of that other country, either because you're there and something happens that you end up having to remain there, or you have to be airlifted and that's where they need to take you, and you don't have a passport, you suddenly have to go through a lot more rigmarole to get back to the United States. It's not as simple as just making a plane ticket and coming back again. You have to go through a lot of paperwork in order to be able to do that. So even though you can sail on some of these cruises with only having your driver's license and a certified copy of your birth certificate, you need to be thinking about having a passport with you. Then no matter what happens, you're covered as far as your necessary documents go.